Yeah, I learned to stay strong. Concrete in the dirt I was raised on. Know how to put in work. Grinding all day, you know it's game on. My skin is thick, yeah, it's tough. Running, yeah, we stay alive. Ain't gotta look nowhere else. All of this greatness inside.
Dave, what episode is this?
I believe this is 16 now.
Ooh. Who
Yep.
even knew we would get
Because it was
there?
14 and then he came back for a second. So
Yeah.
this is 16.
Yeah. So we were sitting
4
here.
months.
We were sitting here with Miss Molly, and we're going to keep it at first name only, at her requests, for a little different talk than what we've had recently.
Very much so. A different talk.
I'm thinking of a title as we're sitting here. I've had a few, but I like from hurt touch to healing.
I like that.
I do too.
That'll work.
That's cool.
Because touch at first can be hurt.
Oh, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But what do I know? Let's talk to Miss Molly, who happens to be a hug therapist. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So tell me where this passion for touch and love and
When it
began.
started,
I mean, who
well, it started a long time ago.
who was the hugger in your family?
Me. I didn't grow up with hugs and kisses and I love yous.
There it is.
But I've always been a hugger. I've always hugged my kids.
From the time when you were a child, were you a hugger as well?
No,
Yeah.
no. I was
Yeah.
always in trouble.
Yeah.
Anyway, I go to Creekside Christian Church, and I sat at a Bible study called Alive with Jack Callagher in October of 23. My husband had passed away the July right before that. And that's kind of where Dawn comes in. She was my neighbor. She is a licensed Christian chaplain. And she didn't really get to practice that because she was working with her mom. But she would come right next door, and she laid out a journey, a solo journey for me that I'll never forget. She changed my life. Anyway, and it all came about because her dog got in my front yard, and I took the dog home, and then our friendship developed over the backyard fence. Anyway, back to Alive.
There are no coincidences in life.
I don't believe in coincidences.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
I don't. I do not.
Meant to be.
Meant to be. I like that.
Be meant to be.
Yes.
Anyway, Jack Callagher sat at my same table at Alive at Creekside on Tuesday mornings, and she invited me to a BFF luncheon on Thursday. And BFF stands for Business, Faith, and Friendship. Actually, it's St. John's BFF.
Okay, listen, ladies. I love y'all, and I love Jesus. But some of these episodes have verbiage in them, so be careful. Just want to make sure.
Anyway, I went. And that particular Thursday at lunch, there were 13 women entrepreneurs. In other words, they all owned their own businesses. And one of them said to me, well, Molly B., what business do you have or what services do you provide? And I went, I give good hugs. So I am Molly B., Ambassador Hug Therapist for BFFs. I am the oldest BFF. I will be 80 years old in September.
You look great.
Thanks.
Is that genetics?
Nope. It's God who's been sitting on my shoulder for a long, long time.
What about the wrinkled up guy that loves God?
Oh, he loves him too.
Okay.
I mean, he doesn't play favorites.
I agree.
No, not at all. Anyway, long story short, I thoroughly enjoy it's a luncheon at the St. John's Country Club. I think it's the third Thursday of every month. Okay, I went to every luncheon, and they promote women that have their own businesses. They have a preferred vendor list now, and if you are a preferred vendor, and it's according to how much money you want to invest, you get all kinds of networking. You can imagine the networking that goes on. They have mix and mingles and all kinds of things, and I don't go to those since I don't own my own business.
Right.
But the last luncheon, let's see, this is March, the one in February, there's 300 women entrepreneurs in BFFs now.
Wow.
And this is just St. John's and Duval. I don't think it goes any further than that. It's a result of Jack Callagher and Jess Swearinger that put their heads together and wanted to do something like this. And it has just blown way. I mean,
3,500. Oh.
No.
5,300.
I'm sorry.
You're
Okay.
dyslexic.
I am.
Anyway,
I should have said, am I?
the BFFs went on a cruise in February. I'd never been on one before, and that was my first and last because I don't want to be around 7,000 people. I had a brand new bathing suit, and I wouldn't get.
I don't like cruises.
I wouldn't get in the jacuzzi with all those cooties.
No, I'm not doing it.
No,
I don't like. I don't get it.
But there were 16 of us, and it gave me an opportunity to get to know some of them better on a one-on-one basis because there's always a theme for the luncheons, and they go. It starts at 11:30 and goes till 1. We usually go over that time frame, but it's hard to get to know people on a one-on-one, and that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And
did you always want to? Did you always enjoy intimate relationships?
No.
Me neither. That's why I asked.
No, it was only after a lot of years of, to be honest with you, therapy. And
what'd you learn?
I learned what makes me tick.
Yeah.
When we lived in Alabama, I took a 6-week course for adult children of alcoholics, and I found out why I do this and why I do that and why I don't do this.
Yep.
It was either all black and white and no gray in the middle. Well, now I have found the gray.
Pretty interesting you say that. We're going to stop right there.
Okay.
Dave, you've known me 18 years.
Yep.
You know where I'm going.
Oh,
What
yeah.
do you say? Don't talk to me about gray. There's black and there's white.
Yep.
No.
I have found my gray.
Thank you. Thank you,
Jesus.
Jesus.
Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, David Cottingham. Thank you to the men that picked me up and loved me before I knew how to love myself.
Amen to
And
that,
then
babe.
walked me to go, hey, listen, I can't tell you what to do. All I can do is tell you my story. And their story fit my story. And obviously BFF grows, and company and organizations like this grow when there's authenticity in it.
Well, it's business, faith,
Yeah.
and friendship, not best friends, you know.
Well, but I promise you, anything that is powerful and good, there's ugly in there. They don't want an organization to stay any more than they want a large church that's helping somebody or a great person. That's gradualism is if there is a higher being, I believe there's a lower being, and I use those terms to keep it really broad. I have a definition for them, but for me and my personal, if there is that, then they have ways of sidetracking.
Well, let me tell you this. I make angel eggs instead of deviled eggs.
I like that.
And I put Old Bay in them because I put Old Bay in a whole bunch of stuff.
I love Old Bay. It fits everything.
Oh, yeah.
Eggs.
Right.
I mean,
If I'm on an island, that would be a spice and black pepper. I'm not a salt guy. So black pepper and that, and I could do everything.
I made homemade, wait a minute and I'll say it, cheese last night. What kind of cheese? It's great.
What?
It's
How do you make
pimento.
homemade cheese?
Homemade pimento cheese.
Oh, pimento cheese. I got you. Yeah.
And it's grated cheese and pimentos and fresh ground pepper, and I put some Old Bay in it, and it made it even better.
That may be part of your secret to 80 years and being as young and beautiful as you are.
What, Old Bay?
Yes. How long have you been eating it?
I buy the.
There you go.
I buy the things like that at
Right.
Costco.
Now you see why I raised that thing up, don't you?
Anyway, long story short.
No, I want long stories long. Go ahead.
Well, this hug therapy thing now. Wait a minute, I have to get my book.
Yes.
She was my half sister, except I called her my whole sister because I loved her dearly.
What year that this clicked in and all this?
Well, I think Gretch has been gone. She passed away about 8 years ago.
Okay,
I
and
did-
Gretchen is your
Gretchen
was
was my half sister.
your half sister. So basically your sister to
Except
you.
I called her my whole sister.
Right.
And she lived in Tracy, California. So we didn't get, well, this says To my baby sister, close your eyes and feel me sending you a great big hug. Love you, Gretchen. And I had a real blood sister, too. And Gretchen and I were closer than Linda and I were.
Yes, ma'am.
And this little bookmark says, love you forever. Thank you for being such a precious sister. But she sent me this book, I don't even know how many years ago. And it wasn't until, I don't know, maybe 8 months ago, I got up in the middle of the night and couldn't get back to sleep. So I sat at my desk and I read all of them and I made check marks.
Godly restlessness.
And
I love that.
Dog-eared.
Yep.
And I did it in purple because that's my
Did you
favorite
halfway
color.
knew what you were doing, or did you 100% knew what you were doing?
No, I had a.
You got
good
up, knew
idea.
that was the book you were grabbing.
Yeah, and I should have done it 10 years ago, but I
Yeah.
didn't. And there's a reason for that.
There is.
Because now I'm a hug therapist.
Yep.
Anyway.
It takes what it takes is what I've been taught. You know, the timing is perfect.
Oh, yeah.
You're never late. You're right on
Except
time.
I was late today.
No, you weren't. You were right on time. You never know what those extra 15 minutes cost or saved you.
It could have cost me my life
I
in
don't
an
know.
accident.
There's just I believe in moments, and moments matter. I really do. The past is full of regrets. The future is full of worry. The men that I hung out with and the programs that I'm involved in, which is spiritually based and is the Bible as well, although I don't follow it nowhere nearly as well as I should. And that's the beauty of it. You know, I get to start my day over whenever I like.
Well, you know what? Worry's like a rocking chair. It keeps you busy, but it doesn't get you anywhere.
There it is. Those old time adages. You know what I love is there's not a ton of books with the old time saying, and they're dying. The World War II generation was the generation that really taught, their generation and before taught through verbal. Grandmother to granddaughter, and taught them how to bake the pie and taught them how to sew. Who taught you how to sew?
Well, my mother wasn't capable of that. But let me tell you something. I read something in a James Dobson book a long time ago, and I thoroughly believe it, that, of course, it could be now 300 years ago, the women took their daughters and their nieces and their grandmothers and their aunts to the river, and they washed clothes together, and they showed them how to can food and how to live. And the husband didn't come in and say, "Hi, honey, how was your day?" He didn't say that. What's wrong with today is the breakdown between women, because they're too busy trying to keep up with outdo each other, or they're. I was an Avon lady for one day in Illinois. I would go to this little white cottage, and a little old lady would come to the door, and she'd say, "Well, honey, my Avon lady just came." Or it was a big fancy house, and there was nobody home because the woman was out working her, off.
Right.
Anyway, that taught me, and I found out that the Avon manager, put me in somebody else's territory because she didn't think that she was working it right. So she put me in the middle of a mess.
Mm-hmm.
I was an Avon lady for one day. I sold one lipstick to my neighbor.
and then you're done.
I was done. It was a done deal. My husband didn't want me to do that anyway. But so let me get back on track.
Let me ask you this: was your family? Did you have extended family around you as well, or
When?
was when you were younger, like in your teens and going into your 20s?
My dad was in the Army Air Corps, and then he was in the Air Force. Spent 33 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I was born at the Army Air Corps Hospital in Orlando on September 2nd, 1945, 20 minutes after General MacArthur signed the treaty with the Japanese to end the war.
Wow.
Yeah, I was born that day. And then we moved to D.C. He bought a house a block off the district line in Maryland. My maiden name was Green, and I lived on Greenway Drive, but it didn't have anything to do with what my maiden name was.
Right.
But Daddy went to England for a year in 1951, and my grandmother lived with us. And she was my guardian angel. She woke me up with a warm washcloth and a glass of orange juice every morning. But after that, things got really rough when we went to Germany. I didn't have family. And when you're in the throes of an alcoholic...
How old were you?
Went to Germany in 1953, so I was 8. And we came home.
The
in
most
1955.
impressionable years. So 5 years? So from 8 to 12, the most impressionable years of a child, and you're dealing with absolute alcoholic chaos.
Okay, my sister was 5 years older. She left home and got married when she
So
was
she was 12 to 17.
She left home when she was 18 and got married, which left me at 13, and I was trying to raise my parents and clean up after them and so forth and so on.
So they were both in active addiction and alcohol. Wow.
And
Were they functioning, able to hold jobs and all that?
Well, Daddy was in the Air Force, and he
Okay.
would never let my mother work.
I got you.
She was so codependent on him.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot to that, and I'll let you read my testimony one day.
I will. Yeah.
It's pretty thorough.
Yeah.
Anyway, we came home.
It just gives me an idea. The reason I asked was it gives me an idea because I believe in that 8 to 12 year impression and 13 to 17, all those impressionable years. And so I know what I went through in those years and how it made me who I am today, sensitive in certain areas and dogmatic in other areas. And
well, I have a good friend that told me that I am the person I am today because of what I've lived through.
that's absolutely true.
Nobody's ever said that to me before.
Yeah, I was taught that in AA, and so they taught me to say anytime something bad would happen to me, they go, good. You get to practice your principles. I'm like, I don't want to practice my principles. I just wanted to go right. Oh, and they would say, pour me another drink.
Well,
And I hated them for it, but today I understand it.
I went to Al-Anon because my son's an alcoholic, and if he's listening to this, I'm sorry, JR, but it is what it is. And
He won't get this far into it if he's in a full blown alcoholism.
no, he's not. He's doing good.
All right.
He's doing much better. But
Because in reality, I'll be honest with you, I have truly found that some people that believe that their family members are alcoholics and they'll call me knowing who I am. Sometimes they're just really heavy drinkers. It says it in the big book. And I've known that to be true as well. I don't judge anybody.
do you believe that it can skip a generation? My parents were, but I'm not, and my son is.
Oh, yeah.
It can be
I'm not
hereditary.
okay. Yes, and I know that, but I'm not as big on the hereditary side as I am just the selfish and self-centered side.
Yeah,
that was my problem.
When I think back,
Because alcohol is but a symptom. See, alcohol for me, I was a workaholic before I even drank. I didn't drink alcohol in my 20s and 30s. I literally ran a corporation with a bunch of stores, and I was so focused on that. I worked 70 hours a week. I didn't drink. I didn't party. I didn't nothing. I worked, and that was my drug. I didn't know that at the time. And then when that went away, I became softball, and then I got into travel softball, and I dove all in. He dives into everything, all in or all out. Yeah.
all or nothing.
Yeah. I am not one to point a finger at anyone. If the man wants to know, I have qualifying questions, but it's certainly not something I do through the family members. And it's only when someone's really ready.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know.
absolutely.
And so and what I offer are suggestions, not commands. Because you don't, if you're an alcoholic, you don't tell an alcoholic what to do.
See, I was 16.
You just gonna get a big middle finger.
I was 16 when I got married. I was an old 16. I
Wow.
never got to be a kid.
Yeah.
And since my
You
husband,
grew up fast.
Yeah, and since my husband's been gone, it'll be 2 years in the 5th of July. I have become my own person. I'm thriving, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
But
So were you a at home raised children mom throughout your young adulthood?
Richard was in the Air Force, and we were in D.C. for 5.5 years. He was chosen out of 7 people to work at the White House, and he worked there for 2.5 years. He could have stayed there for 20 if he kept his nose clean, but he got a stinking job where he had to pick up the colonel at his house and take him to lunch. And my husband was the type of person that needed to see the results of his efforts.
Right.
And he would leave before our kids got up in the morning and come home after they were in bed, and it was just no good. We put in for a transfer, got England. We wanted to go to England 3 years, got Washington State 3 years. We were together until the last year in the Air Force. He said, if I can hide under my desk for 5 days, they can't get me. Well, they got him. And he went to Greenland for a year.
Oh.
But he said that was the best assignment that he was a ranking NCO.
Right.
It was Sonderstrom, not not Thule. And my son was 15 when he left, and my daughter had started college at Troy State, so we went from a family of 4 to 2, and JR was pretty much into heavy drinking by then. It was the best year and the worst year of my life, I can tell you that. And where was I going with all that?
What year was that? So you were how old at that time?
Well, Richard retired when he was 38 because he went in the Air Force when he was 18. So,
Yeah.
and I was 2 years younger. So,
Okay, 36 is so mid 30s.
Yep.
Yeah, those are impressionable years. It's where the marriages make it, don't make it. The children begin to make decisions.
well, a friend of mine has told me since everybody called him Pops. Since Richard passed away, she said Richard wasn't in charge; he was in command, and I was doing this. Yes, sir. Because
But you know, that generation, and especially where he came from, sometimes that's the best they knew. That was love to them. They really didn't know. To him, providing and having structure and was his way of going, I love you.
and he was a perfectionist.
Yeah.
And I would look up there like that and think,
Yeah.
I ain't going to try.
Yeah.
And I have done things since he passed away
Yeah,
that I never would have tried.
Yeah, he'd have been beating my ass a lot because I didn't. My dad was a very strong figure. My mother's a strong figure. I didn't care.
Well,
I mean the results of the punishment you didn't have to worry about till after the party.
his dad was in the Air Force. Then he became a Prince George's County policeman. Then he became a United States Deputy Marshal.
Oh my!
And he was on the security team to guard Bobby Kennedy's family after JFK was assassinated. Had Bobby Kennedy become president, my father-in-law would have been the U.S. Marshal.
Wow!
And I have a Colt 45 that belonged to his dad. I think his dad died in 65, and
Right.
his mother came on a plane from San Diego with that gun on the plane to give to Richard. And now it's my son's.
Right.
But his dad was, he was like, he adopted Richard. His dad was like 6'4", 250.
Right.
Had a big old Marshall's ring on, and if the kids were acting up at dinner, he'd conk them on the head with that. And it's.
I was sitting at Ryan's one night. I was. Oh, and I deserved this one, by the way. I mean, full-fledged deserved this. So this is not like child abuse in my eyes. I was sitting there at Ryan's one night, so that tells you how long ago it was. It was in the 80s.
What's Ryan's?
Ryan's.
It was a steakhouse, like a Golden Corral or anything like that.
Yeah, it was Golden Corral before Golden Corral.
But it was a lot better.
A lot better.
We had Quincy's.
Yeah, it was. They were competitors, and so it was the first, trough feeding. And
That's a good word, trough.
Oh, we call it the trough. I always ask my kids, "Do you want to go eat at the trough?" My wife will not go. I'm like, "What do I care?"
I'll go to Golden Corral.
My husband wanted to go to Golden Corral. Not me.
Yeah. So we're sitting at Ryan's one day in a booth. It was me, my mom, my brother, and my dad. So it was just 4 of us. Angel wasn't even born, I don't think. Or maybe she was. Maybe it was 5 of us. Who cares? I was probably about 12, 13, and good and sassy, boy. I had a mouth on me, kid. And I was
You make me giggle.
and I was not a happy kid, man. Because I went through a lot inside my head and outside. It just, I never really fit in, all that stuff. And so I'm sitting there, and I was just probably being Brett and fighting tooth and nail on whatever, anything I could. And I think Mr. B had just about had enough. And he was sitting across. He was sitting across from me at the table, and our waters had already came. I know this because when I finish, you'll know why. And I'm sitting here just looking at my mom, and I'm just making little wisecracks. And next thing I know, there's this rumble in motion that happens, and something from the ceiling has hit my head. It didn't. It was my father. And what he had done is he had been sitting there, and he literally, feet sitting there, I guess just leaned up over the table and with his knuckles wrapped me on top of the head, sat back down, and all that was left was there was just cups going of the water, and I am dazed. I'm like starry-eyed. I don't know what just happened. That man moved fast. And I'm going to tell you what, I didn't run my mouth for the rest of that day.
Well,
So I sort of get the, some of us strong-willed kids, we need a little push, but
when Richard was 15, his dad told him he needed to get a haircut,
mm-hmm.
and he comes out with, "Well, you get your hair done like you want to," and Dusty picked him up,
Yeah,
like that, and and his mother had to pull him off of him.
yeah.
15 years old.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've been pinned up against the wall. Matter of fact, Mr. B one day he said they'd been gone for the week or weekend or whatever, and I don't know. I think we threw a party or something and got busted. And he goes, "Hey man, go out." He had a step van. He says, "Hey, go out and give me that board out there." So I'm like, "All right." He's not talking to me about it. We're good. So my little scrawny awkward butt goes out to the step van and gets the board, brings it back in, and that was what I had to grab my ankles on. And he, now that mental child abuse, I will call that mental child abuse all day long. Dadgummit. It's like picking your own switch, but I didn't even know. But I was very sassy to my mother, and he came in the door and probably had a day. I didn't understand business and all that as a kid,
Oh, sure.
I was very selfish. And, he pinned me up against the wall. He had enough of me, son. And I mean, he had a forearm. I was right here. I mean, he wasn't choking me or anything. I could breathe, but he knew what he was doing. I was up. I don't know that I was all the way up off the floor, but there wasn't much touching the ground.
Well,
I remember those moments.
I said Dusty was a big man, and when Richard came home from Lackland, I think he weighed 130 pounds. He wore 29 pants.
Right.
He was little, and his stepdad was big. But anyway, where do you want to go from here?
You're heading right where I want you. So you get into your 40s, and do you get into a career, or do you stay after the children begin to grow up and move out?
Being a military spouse, sometimes it's hard to get a job because people don't want to hire you because you're here today and gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that happened to my kids in Alabama. But the first time I got a job was when we came home from England. We were in Washington State, and I worked part-time for Sears Catalog when my son was going to kindergarten. And I worked part-time. We went from Washington to Illinois, worked part-time.
But you were always in contact with your sister, but not in contact with your mom or dad that much, and no real immediate family.
My mom died when I was 17.
Okay.
And I was 42. I mean, she was 42 and I was 17.
Was it of alcoholism and cirrhosis of the liver and all that stuff, or just normal?
It was domestic violence. This is her engagement ring I've had on my finger since I was 17. This is her mother's engagement ring. And I can tell you that happened to me when her funeral was the same week as my daughter's first birthday. So I've been through lots of therapy. The Air Force hospital didn't really treat me, you know. It wasn't until we moved to Jacksonville that I found a doctor that treated my depression as a medical problem. And I want to share.
They just tell you to buck up?
No, not really, but it just went in one ear and out the other. I was so deep in depression that it was like being in quicksand.
For how long?
Oh, years. And I think
Did you know you were in depression?
Mm-hmm.
Even from the beginning? Was yours like a not move, sleep in the bed kind of depression?
My mother stayed in bed, and I was doing it, and I hated it that I was doing the same thing she was, and I tried my best to get out of that.
But when that mind is a powerful thing.
Oh, I know.
Yeah,
I know.
especially when we bow to it.
Every time we moved, we moved 4 times.
So she went through it first. She was dealing with depression throughout when you were a child and everything. Did you know that she was dealing with it?
I knew she was an alcoholic, but I didn't know what depression was.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But we only moved 4 times in the 20 years Richard was in the Air Force, which is very unusual.
That is.
And every time we moved somewhere,
yeah, that's almost 6 years. 5 years.
I grew roots, and I get attached to people, and then we'd be uprooted. And then when we would move is when I'd get down in the dumps again. But when we moved here, my daughter had gotten married to somebody from Jacksonville, and they moved down here, and she started spitting out babies. And I told Richard I wanted to see my grandkids grow up. Took me 2 years to convince him to move, and we moved down here in January of '86.
And you were in the throes of depression at that time.
Well, not so bad.
Okay.
The worst came that summer, and we did this move on our own. The Air Force didn't say move.
Right.
I packed everything with my own 2 hands. And it was August. We had a really sweet realtor, and she was showing us houses. And I said, Nora, you must think I am the most unbelievable, ungrateful, whatever. I deal with depression. And she hugged me, and she said, don't say another word. My daughter's right there with you. So anyway, this doctor put me on meds, and I have had the same psychiatrist for 18 years, and he helped taper me off. I've been off all medication for over a year.
Wow.
And he told me not to.
How many meds did you grow up to through depression?
I was on different ones.
Right.
And
Okay.
they taper you. You have to be tapered
Oh,
off
yeah,
and
absolutely.
then built back up again.
Right.
I didn't keep track of how, but at one time I was on four different
okay.
ones
Mhm.
at the same time.
Just psycho. No, it's not called psychological drugs, are they? What are they? What are they classified
Well,
as?
they're antidepressants.
Okay, antidepressants. So you were on 4 different antidepressants at one time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Gary Brecka, who is, I don't know if you're familiar with him, but I think I should get commission for this guy.
I agree.
But I believe, I know what it's done in my life, the salt underneath the tongue and all that stuff. We'll get into that a little bit later. But, you know, he talks about, I just lost my train of thought where I was going with that, about depression.
It happens.
It'll come back to me.
It
I don't worry
happens.
about it. It'll come back to me. But anyway, so you're in the throes of depression. You start taking the antidepressants. Oh, I know what he said. He goes, I meet people that have been on antidepressants for 15, 20 years. He goes, and then I respectfully ask them, when did you think it was going to kick in? You know, and we don't think about that because they're doctors and we trust and we know this. We've been conditioned that pills fix everything.
I had 9 shock treatments, and none of them worked.
Shock
Wow.
treatments. The bite down
Well,
shock.
they knocked me out. So I don't know what I was doing, but I had 9 of them, and it didn't work. And then I had two.
While on antidepressants.
Yeah, this has been.
Just shock her and throw some pills at her and zap her again. So keep going.
This has been. Let's see. This is 25. I would say early 2000s, maybe. That happened. And
They only can help you with what they were taught with in college.
oh, I know. And
I
some
know
of-
you know now, and it just irritates me that we don't realize it's called a practice for a reason.
Right.
It's not called a guarantee.
They're practicing.
They're practicing. It
Doctors.
may be they're treating me for thyroid. I've been taking thyroid medicine forever. I'm walking off this thyroid medicine because your thyroid is only held accountable for 20% of your whole body mechanism, and yet we treat it 100% of the time
Are
for
you
the problem.
on Synthroid?
Levithyroxine.
No, I don't know that one.
Yeah, I'm a hypo.
My son had to have his.
I'm supposed to be tired all the time or something like that. Whatever.
Well,
They
that's
zap.
about as opposite as you can
Exactly.
get.
They zapped JR's thyroid, and he couldn't be around his kids for several days because he was whatever, you know. But he has to take Synthroid for the rest of his life.
Well, and it can make you, from what I understand, I've not experienced any of this, but manic, and I mean, it can take you all because they say it's your temperature gauge to your whole body, you know. And I did deal with sweating and underarm sweating and profuse sweating forever, and I seem to have gotten control over that. I do a lot of. I don't take a lot of like local medicines. I am going to start pounding vitamin D and magnesium. That's
I
going to
take
be my.
magnesium because of
Yep.
Charlie horses.
Yep. So go ahead.
But May of '88,
May of 88. Uh-huh.
my husband, my daughter, my doctor, and my therapist decided that I needed to be hospitalized, and I was at Charter by the Sea in St. Simon's Island for the month of May of '88. I had lost 16 pounds in 3 weeks. I was
Did
only.
you go willingly?
Oh yeah. And
You were ready. You were done.
It turned me around.
And that's what I find. It's when people are really done. You were done with the way you were living.
Let me tell you what happened. The doctor that admitted me, he had a little Hitler mustache.
Yes, ma'am.
And he sat, his desk was catty cornered, and he sat behind it, and he was like a bobblehead. He didn't draw things out of me.
Right.
I didn't like him.
Right.
And I said to somebody, I said, what do you have to do around here to change doctors? Well, you have to put it in writing. So I put it in writing. Nothing happened. And my roommate she really liked her doctor. He was Dr. Lewis. And he came to see me. He said, you need to stay with Dr. Johnson because of your issues with abandonment. Well, I said to him, what do I have to do? Do I have to stand in a corner and spit wooden nickels to get somebody to listen to me because there's a lot of money being spent and I'm not getting better? He said, I'll take care of it. They were testing me to see if I would stand up.
For yourself.
For myself, right.
A litmus test.
It was probably the first time I ever stood up for myself.
So he was waiting for you to speak up.
Yep.
Was teaching you.
And it turned me around. And there was a young man. His name was Greg. I'll never know Craig. He was a civilian, and he worked at the submarine base. And he got down at one end of the unit and ran as fast as he could, tried to break out that unit. And that's when I thought, holy moly's, I really am locked up, you know? And you had to earn your way.
You got serious though, didn't you?
To be able to go out. I had to stay inside and look out at a picnic table with people out there laughing and playing cards and the birds eating out of the bird feeder, but I couldn't go out there until I earned it. Oh, I learned a lot.
Yeah.
Really,
mid-40s? So right around 40, mid-40s?
Well, I was
Early
born
40s?
in 45, and this was 88,
Say
so
88.
you do the math.
Okay.
Math was not my good subject.
43.
Yeah, well, since my mom died when she was 42, I didn't think I was going to make it past 40 or 42.
Did you ever think about the coincidence that she died at 42 and you got sober around the same age?
Sober.
I mean, emotionally well.
On the right road.
On the right road around the same age?
Not till you just said that.
I know. God gives us let it come. God gives us so many, hey, I'm right here's. If we just stop and go and look for them, they're right there. He hugs me. That was what was so neat about the other day. And my joy of having you here is physical touch. I mean, I grew up with my mom hugged me and loved me.
See,
and,
I didn't grow up as hugged.
yeah, and spanked me and beat me and, did all that. I mean, it was ebb and flow, that independent Baptist kind of a mentality. And there was love in the house, the best they knew how,
Well, that's kind of what I came to realize with my mom and dad. Her parents were divorced when she was an only child, divorced when she was 6. My grandmother worked in a mental institution in West Virginia and couldn't have her with her to live with her, so she was bounced around to whoever could take her. My dad...
Abandonment.
My dad's father died when he was in the 8th grade, and
Abandonment.
Daddy had to quit school and get a job and support 2 sisters, a brother, and his mother. Now, he rose to be a colonel in the Air Force.
Yep.
He didn't have any education.
Yep.
And I think he had a big inferiority complex. But that man, he was on a IG inspection team. He went all over the world. The education that he got from that is priceless.
Do you know that, and I'm not going to be able to give reference to who it needs to go to right now. I'll put it in the links in the comments when I find it. There are 3 traits to highly successful people. One is a very high insecurity complex.
I can believe that.
Very high, because they never think they're good enough, so they push harder and more and more. Exactly, yeah. And we don't need to get in the other 2 right now. If they come up, if they surface and they tie in, but that was one of the top 3 traits, and I started learning how to allow my weaknesses to be my strengths.
Oof, that's heavy.
It was hard. I didn't know how to do it. It took someone else to teach me. I say this a lot because I have to remain humble. I didn't learn anything. It literally was taught to me at a grown. I'm 44, and I'm going. Isn't that interesting? You're 43. I was 44. So all in the same. Your mama, me, and you. And death jails are institutions, and that's what the one of the books that I read talks about. That's the three places I go, and I was headed on my way to jails, and that's what caught my attention and my first God, which we call the gift of desperation. That's the first real. I mean, I knew God. I knew God. I knew Jesus. I knew the Bible.
I didn't.
Yeah. So you got your first God was gift of desperation. You were done.
We lived in Illinois, and our neighbor husband was in Vietnam, and she was in College Station. She was in College Station, Texas, having female problems, and they put her on birth control pills, and it permanently damaged her liver. So she would have to nap every afternoon. Her health was very fragile, and I worked at a little deli down the street, and I'd come home and I'd sit on the end of Dell's bed, and we'd try to solve the world's problems. And she was a devout Christian, and I knew I wanted what that woman had. And that was now I have a friend.
What do you remember her having?
Her faith in God.
And how did you see it?
She spoke it. She lived it.
There it is. Because if you just spoke it, you wouldn't have bought it. You're a watcher.
She lived it.
She lived it. And you saw the results of?
I have a friend that I was going to bring down here last Saturday, and she's hurt her back, so we couldn't come. She is amazed that I can remember dates like I do. And I said, it's a blessing. It's a God wink. I can remember dates. But now I can't remember what I had for breakfast yesterday.
My short-term memory is an issue. I got rear-ended, and ever since then, my short-term memory, it's actually gotten much better. But go ahead.
Your short-term memory is definitely getting better now. But for a while, right after the accident,
oh my gosh,
we'd
first
be
year,
just sitting here, and all of a sudden,
your head or something? Hit your head?
Yeah, I would just have to go. I have no idea what we were talking about. And I just got to the point where I just told people.
We'd be talking, and he would just stop and just have like a blank stare on his face. And he's like, I completely forgot what we were talking about.
I have no idea. I'd have to do it with customers. And that was, but you know what? You live the very best life you can. And if someone doesn't understand that today, I'm okay with that. In my 20s, 30s, I was not. I wasn't capable of processing people not accepting me.
Well, my son has an Alabama redneck accent.
Right.
And his favorite saying is, Mama, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
He has said that to me 1,000 million times. And I believe it now. It is what it is.
It's life on life's terms.
But let me tell you one neat thing.
Yes, ma'am.
I worked at a lumber company downtown for 7.5 years.
In Jayville?
In Jacksonville.
Okay.
Yeah. And I never took a week off, but for our 35th anniversary, I did. And we went to St. Augustine and ate at the A1 Ale House and went up the street to the Casablanca Inn. And while he was making a reservation, I was talking to the other innkeeper, and I said, it's been our dream to have a B&B one day, because I've been buying linens and silver and dishes. Don't I have a bunch of dishes going for our B&B? That was in February. Next Sunday would have been our 63rd anniversary.
Wow.
So when we went back, she looked at me and she said, how would you like to work here? That seed was planted that night.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back to work. They had hired a temp because I did accounts payable and took care of all the insurance for this lumber company. And I asked my supervisor, I said, can I teach her how to invoice purchase orders? Oh, no, she's gone. She won't be back. I said, okay, in that case, I went to my desk and I got a postcard, a picture of the Casablanca Inn. I said, I'm giving you my notice and this is where I'm going to work.
So you went to what you love.
I was there for 2 years. I loved it. I never worked so hard in all my life.
Yes.
Because if one of the housekeepers got a bee up her butt, she'd walk out the door and I'd have a long flowing dress on and I'm cleaning toilets.
My daddy had a saying, So I grew up in hotels because my father would get dropped into hotels that were struggling. And so he'd have to turn them around. So this one hotel we lived in, so I always remembered living in the hotels during the week, and on the weekends they'd be so busy, we would stay in a trailer, one of the little silver bullets, you know, back then. And we'd stay off to the side in the silver bullet. And then during the week, I guess the hotel would be soft and we'd move back in. And I don't remember this, but my dad's told me this story, that one of the places, one weekend, he had just had enough. He was new at this hotel, and he went in and he got everybody together, all the housekeepers, all the wash people, and he told them what not and how it's going to be. And then he said, and then that weekend, or he said that day they all walked out, and it was the weekend. They all walked out. So all weekend he was having to make beds and wash the dishes. And so in business, there's been times that he and I've talked. He goes, "Hey, Brett, don't do your own laundry." And
Makes sense.
What he means is don't run everybody off at the same time. Make sure you pick and choose where you fight, your battles you pick.
Well, we
So,
had
neat.
5 different casseroles that we'd make for breakfast because there's a porch and we'd serve breakfast out on the porch. And I had the night innkeeper would make it, and I had to work from 7 to 3. I'd go in at 7 and put it in the oven. And we had fresh fruit and juice, and then this casserole. And the people from, I hope nobody else there's listening, Miami, New York, and New Jersey were rude.
Well, you can say that.
This
is authentically raw. That's our tagline. They're rude.
They wanted.
He's New Jersey. He's rude.
That's why I'm laughing.
They wanted eggs Benedict. Our kitchen wasn't set up to make special orders. We
Right.
did those 5 casseroles, and that was it.
Right.
I learned a lot, but I met so many nice people. And
Did you learn you didn't want to own one?
yep,
Is that why it was only 2 years? Because I was going to ask, did you ever try to buy it or?
no, I couldn't have
Okay.
done that. Not on a
Yeah,
master sergeant.
they're not cheap, especially down there.
Well, they have Tony and Brenda, who owned it, have since sold it. I don't know how many years ago, but now they have the teeny weeny martini bar or something like that, and they would have a fit. That it was a classy place when I
Right.
worked there,
Right.
and never
Yeah.
mind.
The world's changing, isn't it?
You get the drift.
I mean, you're 80 and you're 80 years young, and it is young. I mean, you carry yourself very well. The world's changed a lot in your lifetime.
Well, and the Casablanca was said to have been haunted. There's 2 balconies. One was the anniversary, one was the celebration, and they were the premier balconies. And the word was that 1,000 million years ago, women would stand up on those balconies and wave a lantern to the pirates out in the Matanzas Bay. And if they were waving, that meant they could come into port and they wouldn't get arrested.
Huh.
Now, I've never taken they do have a ghost
Yeah,
tour.
the ghost tours.
I've not done that.
Yeah, I have a buddy that used to run a Would You down in Orlando that I brought up, and he ended up being like a pirate. They would do the pirate ghost tours in the evenings and everything like
They're
that.
pretty cool, though.
Yeah, if you once or twice, they're worth it. St. Augustine's a neat place. Great history. I like Fernandina.
I do too.
Yeah, Fernandina, Fort Clinch.
And I like Flagler.
I love Flagler.
My nephew's wife's sister and her husband own Flagler Fish Company.
Oh, really?
And right now, they've closed the restaurant. They have a food truck. The restaurant sits here. The road's here. And right here, they're building the Margaritaville Hotel that's going way
Yep.
up in the air.
Well, and it's gonna. My mother-in-law has bought at a great time. There's 12 complexes
Yeah.
that are right on the beach. They got this major mansions to the right and to the left, and sooner or later there will be an eminent domain put on that bad boy.
Oh, without a doubt.
Because they can't get they can show where we can get
Yep.
millions and millions of dollars more in
for
taxes,
sure.
and then they'll pay them a fair wage. But
Yeah.
what if they don't want to leave? Because you can't replace it.
No.
Well, Caroline and Chris have shut down everything, and they're rebuilding. They're anticipating what's going to happen, to get. But
Absolutely.
they're even going to have access to be able to have something out on the beach,
Now that would be
like
nice.
a deck.
That would be nice. because there's not much more of that land left.
Mm-mm. And a friend of mine at church said if she ever had to move to a beach, it'd be Flagler because it's not commercialized like so many other places are.
And I don't think they'll let it be either.
Mm-mm.
I wanted my son to play baseball there. Now you have a
Speaking of baseball,
yeah,
my grandson,
yes. What
Corey,
is
Corey Pye, Pye, is the Savannah Banana Firefighters pitching coach.
so with that? What a small world. We touched on this because my boy plays for the Texas Tailgaters.
And they will probably play them.
Oh, they absolutely will. Well, his roommate is Dearman, who is a pitcher for the firefighters. So
I got to call Corey tonight.
Oh,
and
he'll
tell
know
him.
Dearman has been with the Savannah Bananas for about 7 years, and was actually a Savannah Banana. I don't think he ever was with the Party Animals. It was Savannah Banana, and then he moved on to the as they've expanded, because as you probably know, they're going to grow to 8 teams at least.
Well, it was about for 5 years. He was with them during the summer, and he had a teaching job in Tallahassee, so he had to leave. And then they went nationwide.
Yes.
And he had to quit.
Yes.
This past year, they offered him the job
Jesse and them?
as the pitching coach, and he moved from Tallahassee to Savannah.
Wow. I would love to work for that organization.
That would be
And
cool.
I've never worked for anybody really, but I mean, I watch Jesse a lot. I track him.
And then he's the owner.
He's the owner.
He's the one who always runs around in the yellow suit.
Yep.
Well, you should see pictures of him as a pitcher. So he was thick.
Was he?
Oh yeah, he's got the jawline, big old boy, and he tore his rotator cuff in 2 places, and he was heading to the minor leagues, and he was never going to be able to play baseball again.
Huh.
And he tells the story.
And he wanted to stay in it.
And he was talking to his dad, and he tells the story about realizing that baseball was over, and then who knew that fans first would be what it is.
Let me tell you, Corey kind of is on the same parallel. He went to he was a wrestler at Bowles,
Oh yeah.
and my son-in-law
What years was he? What year did he graduate?
Corey is now 38.
All right, a little bit. I'm old. He's way after me.
Yeah, 16 years.
Yeah, shut up, Dave.
He was 38. My daughter's youngest son was 4th in Florida in wrestling. He went to Bowles. He graduated from Bowles, and he and his wife do jiu-jitsu, and they're going to have those kids will have their own gym. I have no doubt.
That's awesome.
But and my son-in-law is the defensive football coach for Bowles,
Okay.
and my daughter was a photographer for Bowles.
Okay. I went to Episcopal. I graduated from Episcopal. So
Matt Jones,
yes.
the Alabama
know him.
boy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and he's back here.
Yeah.
She got to know his family very well.
Yeah. That's neat.
She was
Small
a-
world.
She was a
Bowles
professional-
puts out some serious athletes.
Well, not only that, if you have Bowles on your whatever it is,
When you're going to your college admissions and everything?
Transcripts.
Oh, absolutely.
but your resume,
Yeah, your resume, it absolutely.
you see
We'll
that.
scoot your mic a little closer to you. Right? Yeah, just point it. There you go, like that. Boom. No, you're right. Even your resume. I mean, it's a well-known school. So
Well, Robbie, he's the youngest. He had a singlet that was about that big because his older brothers, taught him how to wrestle,
right.
and he went to the Bowls out on Beach Boulevard,
Yep.
and then they would pick him up at the one on San Jose when he wasn't even old enough to really be a wrestler. And like I said, he became 4th in the state.
Where was there Bowls on Beach Boulevard?
They began to do campuses. They have one out in
Really?
Ponte Vedra.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're out in Ponte Vedra.
So that was before I moved here.
No.
No?
When
It's
did
been
you
one-
move here?
No, he's been here like 20
30 years?
Yeah, no. They've done it probably in the last 15 years now.
Really?
They-
Never knew.
Well, because I knew because Zach and them were playing baseball out in Ponte Vedra,
Okay.
Providence or whatever's out there. I don't know. Baselli's boy was playing out there and everything, and that's when I found out there was a Bowls out there as well.
Yeah,
So-
Providence is off Hodges.
Yeah, no, but there's a Bowls campus.
Huh. Did not
and I
know
don't know
that.
exactly where, but they have multiple bowls campuses
Gotcha.
around town. I don't think Episcopal does it, but their facilities and everything is on the San Jose. That's where they do all their
Right.
practice. So Snyder's coming around. All these Catholic and they got more money. They can you buy players in high school nowadays? I mean, you can buy
Might
them
as well. They're signing NIL deals in 8th grade.
Well, then Bowls and Episcopal are going to do pretty well because they got some money.
Yeah.
Episcopal was really fun. I wasn't of that nonchalant. I came from humble people, and so when I got in with all these people that were second, third generation monies, and
Well, that's not my grandboys didn't go there because there was money. Mm-mm.
how'd they get in?
I don't really know.
Oh.
It's a question that I haven't answered.
That's okay. It doesn't
It's
doesn't
none
make
of
you
my
take.
business.
Yeah, no, I had a work scholarship at Episcopal. So I mean, even in '88, I think it was like $10,000 a year to go there, and my dad couldn't afford that.
Oh, it's
So-
big bucks to go.
Oh,
to
it's
Bowls.
it's 20,000 plus. Like, I mean, yeah, I looked at a couple private schools before I decided we're moving to
Yeah.
we're moving to Fleming for
I mean, St. John's is ridiculously expensive.
there it is, St. John's. Well, I even looked back then, and it had caught up to Episcopal and Bowles,
Oh,
and
yeah.
Providence, and like University Christian, all that. They have some other
My
tier.
son-in-law graduated from University
Yeah.
Christian.
Well, that's where I went predominantly until my sophomore year. I went through there, and then on my junior year, I didn't have a choice. My dad put me in Episcopal. It's not like it's sort of funny. I told the story like I had a choice, and I made the choice. I was just trying to be cool back then. My dad said, "You're going to Episcopal," and he left my brother at UC. And what stunk is my position, and I watched all my friends win state championships. That was my turn to have.
Well,
And
you were at
while I'm
the
at
other school.
Episcopal, a bunch of yuppies getting ran over, who now they are dynamically good because my boy Marcus Wells, who I played with him at Episcopal, he was a junior. That boy could fly. So your son, did he play? Obviously played in high school, and did he get any
Not my son.
grandson?
He played. Well, Corey
Yeah.
went to school in Douglas, a 2-year
Yeah.
college.
Yeah.
And then he got a scholarship to Thomasville,
Yeah.
and he was in a really bad wreck. And I don't remember how many stitches he had. Anyway, he was treated in Tallahassee. And when they sent him home to Jacksonville, there was not a surgeon that would take the staples out
Really?
because they didn't do the surgery.
Oh.
Go figure.
So my
God, I love
daughter,
medicine.
my daughter had a little antique place, and one of her patients' husband is Dr. Shirley, that works for JOI. He took his little medicine bag and went to their house, took all of his staples out, treated him, never asked for a dime,
Oh.
and he followed up with him, and then he told Corey, he said, "Well, you can start, like walking fast." And Corey said, "What do you mean walking fast?" He'd been almost running because he didn't ever think he would walk again, much less play baseball.
Yeah.
And then he was the one of the coaches at the community college in Tallahassee.
Mm-hmm. TCC.
He was there for like 7 years. And
Wow.
when the coach retired, he thought he was going to get it.
Wait a second. Back up. I know this guy.
Corey Pye?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know him through TCC
He was
because
there 7 years.
because Tanner Thomas, who plays for the Party Animals, went to Fleming Island. Him and Zach are best friends, and he went to TCC. And at that time, they had a long-time coach, and that coach thought that he was going to be getting the job because I knew Angelo Nicholas from Valdosta State because we were down in St. John's.
St. John's.
My son played at JUCO down in St. John's while y'all were at TCC, so we played y'all. And we'd go over there, and y'all would come to us. And then Zach ended up at Valdosta State. So I watched the drama of that, and I
I
remember
remember Chris talking about it.
It was drama.
that's what it was. It was Chris. Yeah.
Because everybody thought Corey was going to get the job, and when he didn't, it was like,
I even think I might have talked to your dad. I mean, your husband.
no, his dad,
His dad.
James Pye,
Guarantee I talked to him
James Lee Pye.
because we were over there at Chipola, And they were the dominant ones. And we were over there by the food stand, and my son was pitching, and he was standing there, and we got to talking, and he was talking about his son taking over, and it's weird how I remember that.
Well, he
So it obviously didn't happen, unfortunately.
he didn't get the job, and that's when he was working as a PE teacher, coaching a high school team. Well, going from college
Right,
to high school was,
right.
it,
For his for the ego. I mean, you want to do better. You want for him. His desire was to grow in college and everything.
so this
Minor setbacks.
this banana thing is really special for him, and they have the Savannah Banana Nanas. You have to be
Oh, yeah.
70
Oh,
to
yeah.
be,
Oh yeah,
to
I
be a
know.
cheerleader,
Oh yeah,
and you have to know how to dance. They want me to do that, and I said, no way.
those girls are loved,
I know.
and all the players love them.
I'm loved. I don't need to be a
I
cheerleader.
heard, but you know what's interesting though. I love the way life works because had Corey Pye gotten the head coach job at TCC, those aren't long-term jobs. I mean, they want to win. They want to win now, and all of a sudden, 3 years he's gone, and then maybe the Savannah Banana thing isn't there anymore. And I mean,
Well-
I think things happen. Even the setbacks happen for reasons.
I have a video of Corey. He has taken a young man. I think his initials are TJ, who is he's autistic, and he's taken him under his wing. And I have a video of their welcoming to each other, hands and feet.
Right.
And Corey spent Christmas Day with TJ and his family in Panama City, not with his family, but
That's
with TJ's.
awesome.
And he takes him to games.
That's awesome. Because that's really what life's about.
Okay, let me ask you this. Do
Yes,
you
ma'am.
remember Dr. Forrest from UC? I think he was an instructor, and then he was a principal for a long time.
That might have been after me then. Because I left in 85.
Okay.
I think it was after me because our principal was the Dinsbeers.
Joey, my daughter's oldest son, was married at the there's something going and
That's all right.
come back,
It'll
come
pop back.
come back.
At a school or
Swanee River Music Park.
okay.
He and Christy were married by the river, and Dr. Forrest, who was either a teacher or principal at UC, did the marriage ceremony. And Robbie and his wife were married there. There's a big tree house built there, and that's where they spent their honeymoon night. My daughter and her husband have a cabin at the Swanee River Music Park.
Oh wow.
And it's really cool. They have huge, big concerts.
Yeah, they do.
Oh yeah.
And Joey was he was involved in all of that. He had a stick with all the bracelets on it that you
Oh,
paid big bucks
right.
for to get. And he was an artist, freehand artist. He made posters for Widespread Panic.
Huh.
Really?
Unfortunately, he was killed in a car wreck 3 years ago. And nobody's gotten over that. Once you lose a kid, you never get over it.
Yeah.
My daughter's had a real rough time. And then she lost her daddy. And then his widow, Joey's widow, took her kids, my great-grands, to Troy, Alabama, where her parents lived on a farm, and the kids just thrived on this farm
Good for them.
rather than being here.
Yeah.
You know. Oh, Lord. Anyway, I probably need one
So-
of my hankies.
So you can reach over.
No, that's all right.
So when did you get to the hug therapist side? I mean, when did that really take off? Were you, or is it?
Officially,
Yeah,
October of 23.
October. So this is where you began the hugging. And do you? And is it only the members, or
Oh, no. I've been hugging for. In fact, when somebody, I think you tried.
that's
to
how
shake
we
my
met,
hand, and
right? I
said,
did.
"No,
I did
just
shake your
hug.
hand, right?
I just hug.
Right.
Because I believe in hugs. Hugs are healing, and they make people feel like they count. Kindness matters to me. Kindness counts,
Yeah.
and it needs to be scattered.
You know, I was walking. It was interesting. I was walking across the Publix over close to us, the traffic's really bad. I was going across and I was skating by because cars were just coming. This one guy didn't stop, and there was this elderly lady that was walking by, and I had already gone by. I said, yeah, they're not going to stop for you. She goes, oh, I know, honey. And then just something clicked in my head. I said, they're going to stop for you. And I put it in park, and I put my big old butt out, and I walked backwards, and I made everybody stop. She, well, thank you, sweet. And I'm going to tell you, I enjoy those moments. I don't share them
They're God winks.
They are okay. I like that.
God winks. God provides those for you.
Yeah.
And
it's more for me than it was for her. There's no doubt.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
God lets you. How do I want to say it? He provides the opportunity for you to do something like that, and that's a God wink in my book.
And my head is on I'm so addicted to it. Ask Dawn Marie. I'm so addicted to it that I do it. Matter of fact, I was in a car somewhere, and Dawn and I were in the same spot. I mean, Dawn was driving with me, and all of a sudden I put the thing in park, and and I jump out, and there was this, I forget, but I love, you were a healthy 80-year-old, but there were some 80-year-olds that
need help.
Yeah. And
I'm beyond help.
But, I hope somebody would be there to help me put my chair in the car, and I think of you. And I mean, there comes a day, we all are going to need help.
Oh, yeah.
And how we treat the old and the young tells a lot about a country, and I want to be a part of the solution, not the problem,
Me too.
So there's something else you're involved in. It is called
Something to Hold On To.
Something to Hold On To. So give us a little bit of insight where it started or how it started, or let's get the mic a little closer to you so they can hear you.
Okay.
There you go.
This is something that I've printed up and I present it. I fold it up in the inside of each one of these hankies when I give it away to somebody, and it says Something to Hold On To. This ministry started 37 years ago as a result of a friend's son who died of cancer. I took an old hanky with me and put it in his mother's hand for something to hold on to. These hankies have brought comfort to many families. They are old, washed, pressed, and blessed. The hope is that other folks will take this ministry and pass them on. People from our church have donated many of them. Our hearts and prayers are with you, Richard and Molly Bowser. Now, we gave out 65 of them at my husband's celebration of life.
Wow.
And I didn't realize I had that many. I was just kind of throwing them in the closet, and then when it came time to do planning for his celebration, a friend of mine took them home, half of them home, and she had them all on this tray.
Hold up a couple so the cameras can see it.
I just pressed 21. Dawn found 21 of them for me.
Holy mackerel. All right, we're going to get involved in this, Dave.
Okay.
We're going to be a donation drop-off for handkerchiefs. We'll have a little sign up and everything that tells the story. And if you have a handkerchief or something, we'll do like a discount, for any sale you do.
Oh, wow. That would be awesome.
Listen, we're two or more got an idea. This is beautiful. So it goes to loved ones.
Well, it's gone mainly to church members or people like my friend that I was going to bring down here the other day, Barb. She sent two to a friend in Tennessee who lost a loved one. That lady goes to estate sales in Tennessee and buys them and sends them to me.
Wow.
I don't pay more than like $3 for them. Some of them are. Let me. I just pressed all these little boogers the other night.
And they look. Let me see the blue one. Let me see that blue one.
This one?
Yeah. Wow.
And some people tell me they belong to their grandmother. Now,
I had my grandfather on my dad's side. I don't have much from him. I have a rod and reel from my mom's side. He liked to fish. Pawpaw did. But Many Moons, I don't have much from him. But I do have a couple handkerchiefs that have the bee on it. And I cherish it. I actually haven't washed it because to me it still has this smell on it. I'm not sure it really does. It's been some years, but in my head it still does.
I understand that totally.
Yeah, he was a good man.
But I think it's a small, kind remembrance.
Yeah.
To give to people that are what else do? You give them flowers or you take food?
Right.
Nobody gives them a handkerchief.
This has the ability to grow.
I have a friend I grew up with, and she didn't lose anybody, but she was having a hard time.
Let's get it a little closer to your mouth. There you go. Right there. You're good.
She was having a hard time physically with health problems, and I sent her one, and she said my nickname was Danny growing up,
Right.
DANNI. She said, Danny, you could just blow this out of the water. What if you sold them somehow?
Yeah, because my business mind is going, okay.
Yeah, but there's no way I can come up with that many old hankies because they're few and far between.
Did you hear that, Dave?
Okay, you find them. I'll iron them.
All right. If someone else out there doesn't do it, I'm gonna get on it. So, but what I really like to do is I like to see things grow organically through helping people, and then in doing that, there's nothing wrong with making money off of it.
I have people that come up to me this day that still have the hanky in their
Yep.
purse or their Bible. If I give them to a little granddaughter whose grandmother died, the mother will say, "Put that in your Bible."
Mm. Do you ever add extra, like stitching on it or anything, like the date or anything?
I don't have time.
Okay. Wow, there's a whole business in there. I mean, not to just be business, but what it does allow you to do is to make money so that you can then go and touch others,
But
and even more.
I have nobody's given me money. I bought
No, I
all of them.
understand. I understand.
And
Yeah.
I take friends on hanky hunts. We go to antique places, and there's a couple there's Avonlea and Great
Yeah.
American
Yep.
on Phillips
Well,
Highway.
I know the owner very well. I have a booth in that space,
Which one?
the Great American, and I know the Avonlea owner as well. Yeah, we're friends.
Well, that's my stomping grounds. This over
Okay.
here, it's not.
That,
No.
I grew up on the south side.
I live
So-
off of Old St. Augustine Road.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
That's
Yeah.
that's my stomping grounds.
Yeah, well, we have the Wood Jew right there as well.
Oh yeah, I know. I
so-
was there the other day.
Yeah, awesome.
And Dawn I talked to her for a few minutes, and she said, "Are you Brett's podcast?" I said, "Yeah."
That's right. She did tell me. Well, I just thought it was. I mean, someone that takes the time. There's a boldness to do what you did with me, the shaking of a hand. But no, I'm a hugger, and I know there's people that you catch off guard.
Oh yeah.
Do you ever have anybody go no? You ever anybody just totally stop you?
Yes, they don't want to be hugged.
Yeah.
And when somebody helps me on the phone or in a shop, I thank them for their kindness.
Yes.
And some people say, "Huh?"
Exactly.
Because nobody's ever
They
said that.
never
to 'em.
hear it.
Mm-mm. I always do that.
We're
Kindness is a big word in my book.
might have something to do with it wasn't in your life a lot early on. I find listen, people say to get over it about your childhood. It's not that I like to beat childhood up, but I love to know where someone comes from because I really believe it makes you who you are. You can't the 8 to 13, in my opinion, 3 to 9 is where I mean my oldest son Zach, by the time he walked early. He was 10 months old, and he was mobile as could be. And and that big, and he was a hoss. He was like 20 pounds at that time.
My
literally.
son weighed 913 when he was born, and I'm smaller
Yeah.
than I am now.
Yeah, then you and Dawn were the same. Dawn Marie had a cannon on her arm from carrying that kid around all the time. I mean,
Well, my hip was out of joint.
yes. And so, and he learned the word no at a very young age, and then we built on that. I think people just have kids, and they just live, and they think it's just going to fall in line. And in my opinion, no joke. Dawn and I, when we were dating, I would talk to her about children and how I was going to raise children. And we don't do that when we date anymore, about finding out what's your beliefs, your religious beliefs, how do you view, and all of a sudden you got a Jewish person married to a Anglo-Saxon, and you got your issues on when the children come around.
Well, I have gotten more personal today than I have in a long time with anybody, but I can tell you that I didn't date hardly any guy more than once, because when they would come to my house and get the 3rd degree from my drunk father,
Yeah,
I never heard from him again.
yeah.
Richard was an exception. There was another guy. I was a sophomore and Richard was a senior. And this other guy was a senior, and he asked me to go to the prom. And the kids from Prince George's County, they were making plans to go to Ocean City after the prom. I said, there's no way my father's going to let me do that. This guy would not take no for an answer. And my last name is Bowser. He was Bowers, Bowers.
Mm-hmm.
So Richard walked me to the bus one day, and then he called me and he said, I figured out how you can get rid of him. I said, how's that? He said, go with me. And the rest is history.
I love it.
The prom was on Friday night. He drove a 57 black Ford convertible. I told him that was the only reason I dated him. I didn't hear from him Saturday. I thought, another one bites the dust.
Right.
He wanted to take me for a ride in his convertible on Sunday. I wasn't allowed to go. So my neighbor went with him, and she explained a little bit of what was going on at my house. That didn't bother him, and the rest is history.
Wow. Before he passed, how long were y'all married?
61 years and 4 months. But last year now, are you familiar with KDO, little country western singer? She was just on The Voice.
No. I'll find out about it.
She's great. And I had...
Do you?
I've heard her.
Okay.
I was invited to go to a birthday party, a BFF birthday party. And Jack, who invited me to the first luncheon, she said, I'm going to pick you up at 7 o'clock and look glittery. I said, okay. Well, KDO was hired to sing at this birthday party, and she impressed me. She sang John Denver's Almost Heaven. I have a plaque on my screen door that says Almost Heaven.
Mm.
And she made me cry because there was a couple of the songs that she played. Well, I hired her, and she came. I have a big deck with a tin roof over it. She came last year on her anniversary, which would have been 62 years, and sang. We had hors d'oeuvres and wine and beer. My kids were there. My grandkids were there. And a little family that has adopted me, they were there a year ago this coming Sunday.
Pretty special when you find special people. They help the healing process.
And I have videos of, I did a toast to my husband. And I have videos of KDO singing.
Wow. What do you want people to remember about your husband?
Oh, Pops was special. In fact, he had a young man that Richard worked at a sign shop, and then he became part owner in it. And Austin Smith started there when I think he was about 20, and he said that Pops taught him everything he knew. He now owns a business, I think it's called 201 Wrap, and he has on his arm tattooed, paint is dead. He's in the business of wrapping vehicles.
Okay.
And he wrote a beautiful letter about Pops. And I called and asked him if he would repeat it at his celebration of life, and he did.
Wow.
It was epic, absolutely epic.
Sounds like you got a lot of good support.
Oh, I do.
In your
I have
life.
a tribe.
Yeah.
I have a whole tribe of people that love me and help take care of me.
Yeah.
In fact, I could call any one of the BFFs that I mean, there's too many of them now. I don't know 5,300 of them, but some of the original ones, if I called them at 2 o'clock in the morning, they'd be at my house at 3 o'clock wanting to know what I need.
And in the end, that's really what matters for me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
money, substance, it's all gone.
Absolutely.
Richard doesn't get
positively.
it's gone.
Absolutely.
But
Positively.
the memories of, and that, Tim Tebow said it, the day we were born and the day we died. I'm sure
The
someone else,
dash.
the dash. And when he said that, and I'm sure somebody may have said it before him, I remember Tim saying it. And when he said that, I was like, it meant so much, because that's really what I try to live that moment. I try to squeeze every ounce of life, and he'll share with you. Even when I was drinking, being a knucklehead, I loved life. And today I've learned to love it even more, without that. And I don't have a huge tribe. And so it's interesting to watch people that do, because I'm not comfortable, in huge, I'm comfortable in huge circles, but.
Well, my tribe is my people I go to church with. I've been there 20 years this August. I've been in the same small group for 14 years.
See, that's the problem, is I won't do a small group.
Oh, I love my small group.
Yeah, I'm not sharing all that. And then the unspokens and I can't do it.
Well,
I say I can't do it. I can't do it yet. It hasn't been a strength of mine.
Wait till you get older like me.
Yeah.
But family and my church family
Yep.
and now my BFFs and people that I've met along the way.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been around the world a time or two. Lived in overseas, England, Germany, the Philippine Islands.
Yeah.
So I've been around the world a time or two.
Right.
But I'm staying right here. I'm not. I call my house my nest. I'm not leaving my nest.
Do
Not
you
for nobody.
Do you ever find that your hugging ensues emotions out of people that come out of nowhere, crying, tears?
Occasionally.
Yeah, because there's hurt people out there that hide it well.
Oh yeah, occasionally. And like I said, there have been people like,
Mm.
not me. Not
Yeah.
can't do
Yeah.
it.
Where would you like to see it go?
Well, I think the hugging and the hanky
Thank you.
thing go hand in hand.
They do.
They touch each other,
Yeah.
and that if this hanky thing can take off even more than what it. I mean, like I said, I had 65 that I gave away at Richard's
Yeah.
celebration. If it can take off even more, I can't. My son told me that not too long ago that I'm like the Energizer Bunny and I need to slow down. I said, I'm not slowing down. I might not be able to get back up again if I slow down.
Well, I think you'd find there'd be a lot of people that would be involved, that would be willing to be involved in this. What a special thing. I mean, my grandfather's handkerchief means a lot to me. So when you told me about this, and I didn't know about it until after we had set up, it was more the hugging therapy that was interested me. And to be honest with you, I love where this podcast has gone because it's been your life. And there's victories. There's a lot of pain in there. People get to see.
But I didn't talk about all the pain.
No,
And I
but
won't.
no. But it was evident. And I believe viewers will know because the right viewer that watches this has walked many steps that you have, and they'll recognize, God moments.
God wings.
And God wings. And we actually, I don't know, Dave, it was probably five episodes ago, we had a gentleman on, Taj, 5 or 6 episodes ago, and he shared his story. And from that, somebody watched it and called him, and he's now sponsored. He's in the AA or in some kind of program, and he's now a mentor, sponsor of some sort. And so that to me is what this thing's all about. I don't know who hears this and gets what they need to get. I just know they will hear this and get what they need to get.
Well, I have been in some sort of support group since, let's see, we lived in Prattville from 73 to 76. And I have been in some sort, I was in an ACOA, which is Adult Children of Alcoholics, there. And then I've been in just depression support groups. I'm a 30-year breast cancer survivor.
You've been through a lot.
And I know Jeannie Blaylock very well. She came to my house and did a Buddy Check 12 segment on me and my dog.
I played softball with her husband, Bill. So, yeah, small world.
And my daughter has been her photographer for a long time. But I started a support group of women that I went through treatment with at that time. Now, 30 years ago, treatment was a whole lot
Yes, ma'am.
scary than it is now.
Yeah.
But I named us Girlfriends and Angels. And my husband said, y'all are the girlfriends, but the guys are the angels. And it gave the husbands a chance to bond, and they could talk about what their wives were going through. And girlfriend, there's
Because we feel helpless.
8 of them came to Richard's celebration. That's how we had 11 to begin with. We've only lost 3 in 30 years.
Wow.
But, and that we just had a little reunion about 2 months ago. We used to get together a lot, and it sort of faded out.
Yeah.
But I can still call Linda, which I call Lindarella. I could call Lindarella at 2:00 in the morning, and she'd say, "What's the matter, Molly B?" It's just
That's pretty
communication.
special. Yeah.
It's
Without a
communication.
doubt.
Yeah. Having so many trials in your life, you've had to get back up a lot.
And I've been knocked down a lot too.
Yeah. What was what do you think off the top of your head? What's the top 2-3 traits that help you get up?
My faith in God. to number one,
Yeah.
because without
Does
him,
it ever waver for you?
my faith,
Yeah. Because mine does.
I can look back on. Well, I've been in Jacksonville since '86, and a lot's happened to me in these years. But I can look back and see where God had His hands
Absolutely.
in things for me, and I didn't know it then,
Nope.
but I know it
I
now.
had no clue.
I know it now.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's obvious.
My God's a gentleman. He doesn't come anywhere he's not invited. And I try to invite him often into my life. And I also realize that when I start finally saying, I can't, he can, I think I'll let him. These little tidbits that were taught to me help me in life, because I love to be an alpha and a control freak and a this, and it was to no avail,
See, I had to be in control with my mom and dad,
Yeah.
and that was hard to swallow that when I got married.
Yep.
Because Richard wanted to be in control,
Yeah.
not me. But on the cruise now, I sat with a sister and two sisters. One's a BFF and one is not, and their mother is in Westminster Health Center down by World Golf Village,
Mm-hmm.
and she put out something on. Look up BFFs on
I will.
Facebook.
And I'll put a link on it on this chat.
She put out a notice that she needed people to sit with her mom, 75 years old, and she's had 2 strokes. I went down there one day last week. After I was there for a little, that woman is like a pretzel. Her left leg is all the way over on the right-hand side of her body. She can't move. And and they have pictures of her in the room, in their bedroom. She was one hot mama.
Yeah.
Before the strokes. But I got in the car and I didn't get teary-eyed, but I just thought, I am blessed beyond measure.
Yep. I am too.
I truly am blessed beyond measure. So she's going to pay me to spend 2 hours, 2 days a week with her mom.
Yes.
Nice money
Yes.
that I can use.
Yep. A blessing for a blessing.
Absolutely. In fact, she took a selfie of, her name is Lori, and her mom's Linda, and me. And I read the comments the other night, and it was overwhelming.
Yeah.
About me.
So faith in God is one. May I offer that moving a muscle for you is another.
What do you mean?
Like
Explain that.
You get moving pretty quick after getting knocked down.
Oh, you got to get jiggy with it. You got to get
That's
back
right.
up.
That's how I think. Get jiggy with it. There's a song.
Get jiggy with it.
Get jiggy with it.
I say that all the time.
Get jiggy with it.
I used to say certain things that would come out of my mouth would be Mollyisms.
Dave,
Yeah.
how funny is that? You go ahead.
Yeah.
You go ahead and tell her.
No, you.
I have breadisms.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have them on the
yeah.
wall. I have them on the wall at our mother store in San
The
Jose.
warehouse in San Jose. You
walk
takes a marker and writes them up on the walls.
Little bread. Yeah.
But I support Betty Griffin, who supports domestic violence. And I shop. I donate. Me and Betty are on first name.
I want her on this podcast. I want to talk about abused women and where they can go, sites, traits. Anyways, we'll talk about it some other time, but anything to do with helping people and helping women. This building I own was a female domestic violence. They would bring women in here. They still operate the Quigley House.
Oh,
They,
yeah.
they still operate to this day.
Well, Betty Griffin has a shop, has a thrift store at the intersection of Racetrack and 13.
In Fruit Cove.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking at right on my phone.
There's a Moe's on the one end, and there's a
Hey.
Walmart
Racetrack and what?
Racetrack and
and-
13.
Yeah.
13. Okay. Wow, that's a great location.
Now, you talk about signs. You got to read the walls in my house, like simply blessed, choose joy, be happy.
I like my one up here, be stronger than the storm.
I have them all over my house.
Yeah,
And I put one whole wall in my garage, nothing but signs like that.
I do too. Sort of odd, the similarities.
Uh-oh.
No, I mean, I have one wall that has all my little signs, all my little, my little.
Well, I get teased about it because you come into my nest and you have to read my walls.
Let me ask you a question.
Ask me.
Are you a photo person, meaning you look at a photo and that means a lot to you, or are you an object person where you hold an object and you remember a moment?
Probably the object. I don't. A lot of my friends have a whole wall of nothing but family pictures. I don't have that at home.
Yeah.
I have.
I'm an object guy.
I am too.
I'm a literal object.
I think I'm kind of both.
Yeah, I would say me too. But let me tell you what I bought at
How
Betty.
about that?
At Betty, I saw a leather sofa and a recliner, and I thought, you don't want leather. I'm thinking years ago when
Right.
cars had leather, they were
Right.
cold in the winter.
They'd
and
stick
hot.
to you.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a little different.
So I went home and I talked to God about it because I had the same furniture for a long time. And I was ready to get rid of it. And I went back the next day, looked at it again. I went home, prayed about it, went back the next day, and they'd put a price on it. And there was this guy, Larry, tall, skinny, man of color. He was so funny. He said, because the sofa has this, it's a camel back.
Right.
He said, this is vintage. I said, I'm vintage. How old do you think I am? He guessed last year that I was 62, and I said, no, probably 79. He said, lady, his eyes got big. He said, you're blessed. I said, yeah, beyond measure.
Yeah.
I paid $400 for a leather sofa and a recliner.
Wow.
I thrift all over the
Yes.
place. Have you ever been to the thrift store for veterans on Emerson?
No.
Oh, my gosh.
There's one you don't know about.
You see me running down. Thrift on Emerson. I mean, I know Emerson well.
Well, there's an Angel thrift shop store, whatever, and it's on the end of a parking lot, and this one sits on the back. You get off of it because that's the way I used to go to work. I used to get off on Emerson, and I had to go
Right.
over the Hart Bridge.
Right.
We were right next to the lumber company. Was right next to the shipyards.
We were very close. So, Would You Distributors were y'all the cabinet shop right there that was facing Channel 12 and all that back then?
No, we were down Adams Street,
Yeah, we were off Adams Street.
Lanahan Lumber. I'm talking about.
We were literally right next door almost. Would You Distributors was on Adams Street, and then like if you went towards the Gator Bowl back then, Channel 4 and Channel 12, and we were that gray. We had a warehouse on one side and we had a warehouse on the other side, and the very end had that cabinet shop that was there.
I don't remember that
Yeah.
because I left there in 90. I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 95.
Oh, we were gone by then out of there. We were. I mean, this was like 80s and then
Oh.
early 90s, and then we were gone.
No.
You probably ended up in our spot, and now that whole thing's knocked down.
Lanahan Lumber had been, when I was there, celebrated its 50th year. But because we were so close.
I know where you were then. Okay, you were not where I'm talking. We were building. Y'all had a yard and everything.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay. I got you.
But we were right next to
You
the
were-
shipyards.
And near Cypress Trucks and all that.
No, it said Lanahan Lumber on them.
No, I mean, but do you remember the big trucking company that was near y'all? Anyways, keep going. It's all right.
We were close to the shipyards.
Yeah.
And they would have their overspray could get our cars. So they provided us with car covers.
Oh,
Well, it's my job as accounts payable. I had to go pick up the mail downtown, go take the thing off, put it back on, go make the bank deposit, take it off, put it back on. I was driving an 87 Ford Mustang convertible, and I didn't want any paint on my car. Car covers are a pain in the you-know-what to put on.
they
and off.
are. Do you find people for the handkerchiefs? Do you find people reach out to you for them, or you more?
Both.
Both.
If
Is it-
I hear about somebody that's lost a loved one, I immediately,
No Facebook page or anything right now.
mm-mm,
Okay,
mm-mm.
that may be a good place. We'll talk later, because sometimes it's not about growing. Sometimes it's about the 65 or 70 that you're helping and just spending time doing that. Not everything's
I
meant.
can't. When Patty said this could be big, you could make.
Yeah.
That didn't.
Yeah.
excite me at
Good.
all.
And then I think you stay right where you are. I believe that 100. But sometimes things will just continue to where you can't stop it from growing. And that's when you sort of know that, there's other hands in it that are involved.
well, I would have to have help.
Yeah.
I mean, more than one
Oh, yeah.
person
Oh, yeah.
washing and I'm pressing. And
Oh, yeah. No,
whenever we'd go, my husband and I love to go to the mountains, and we'd go in October to see the leaves, and then for our anniversary in March. And always antiquing, always antiquing. I have primitives
right.
at my house. My son says my furniture is good firewood. A killing if it gets anything, burns it. But he would talk to owners of shops like in Blue Ridge, and they would give me hankies. There's a antique thing on Julington Creek. I can't think of the name of it right now. But when the gal saw me coming, she knew what I was after, and she'd give me 20% off of my hankies.
Wow.
Sugar Bears.
Sugar Bear.
Yeah, Sugar Bear.
I couldn't remember the
Sugar
name. It's
Bear,
right there right before
Yeah.
the water.
He's been there forever.
And
Interesting. Well, you know what? Thank you for your time. Thank you for telling your story. More importantly, thank you for sharing your pains. And I don't think you'll realize it until maybe you come and watch it back. But there's a lot of lessons of the history of how to get out of it too. I heard a lot of getting up and getting jiggy with it. And
you got to. You're dead. You're dead meat if you don't.
That's the grind. And so, I mean, you have grinded your whole life. You may not have put that terminology on it, but, and I did.
Struggled.
Yes. Yeah. That's the grind.
Struggled with depression.
Yeah.
I don't have to do that anymore. I'm thriving according to my doctor. And I know I'm thriving. I mean.
Right. And it's not just medicines, right? This is something else, human touch and interaction. And because we are built as a human to be around others.
Deeper faith in God.
Deeper faith in God. Deeper faith in something bigger than yourself. If I can just start somebody there, my God's big enough to define himself,
Well, I was baptized in somebody's backyard pool 20-something years ago by Chuck Peterman, the pastor. And then my son will be 60 in October. 2 years ago on his birthday, I was baptized again because I'm not the same person I was 23 years ago.
Boy, that's the truth.
And my good friend Emily Good baptized me, and I was standing in the corner of the baptism. I was shivering. I was cold. There were people lined up to come hug me, and she said, "I've never seen a receiving line at a baptism before." And
that is awesome.
That was me. To
be loved like that's a special person, but it's also a special healing power. People heal me, and it's been a joy to get to know you today. It's been a joy to know about your life and your hugging. And I am not just saying this as you get to know me, you'll know I don't just say that. I could care less what these people think, because this is a journey. I've gotten 4 things. Just from you and I sitting and talking. The last 3 weeks, I mean, I've gotten some dynamic. Bubba, I can get out of the ring anytime I want.
Yep.
That has been playing in my head for a week and a half now with what Sammy said.
Yeah. My
life was always fighting. Not like physical, although that I enjoyed that too, my younger years. But, it's fighting this, fighting that. I'm always fighting somebody. And I can get out of the ring whenever I want. And it never even crossed my mind. And you have given me some nuggets for that as well. And you've also validated, because it is faith for me carries me through a lot. But I'll lose faith if I'm standing alone trying to hold on to it. It takes a community.
Call me.
Thank you. And I have a list of men I can call, and because I need butt kickers, and I'll keep it nice because you have 3 people watching.
I understand.
But I need people that are going to really tell me like it is. And the men that I'm around, they don't care about my feelings. They care about helping me. Mm-hmm. And you've touched a lot of people with this handkerchief.
Tattoos aren't my favorite. My granddaughter is also my hairdresser, and I get to spend one-on-one time with her that I wouldn't get any other way. She highlights my hair and cuts it, and she wants me to have a bee put on my arm somewhere. I've got a tattoo there and one there and one there from where they aimed radiation at me.
Oh my goodness, I didn't think of that.
It's like a little piece of an ink mark.
Yes.
With a pen.
Yes.
That's my tattoo.
I didn't get mine until my 50s.
Really?
Yeah. I was 50 when I 50 or 51.
How
51.
old are you?
It's only 54. It's only been the last 3 years I've
Yeah.
had tattoos.
And what does it mean? What do they mean?
Oh, they go all the way up. I mean, I have a bull and a wolf and my scorpion, and then I have my compass, which is more for me just staying dialed in, and my phoenix, which goes all up in here and there.
Well,
And you know what phoenix is? Represent rising from the ashes. And then I got my gator, and that's not for the Florida Gators. It just I grew up around the swamp.
Joey,
Yeah.
my grandson that passed away, had a huge koi fish on his back
Yep.
and arms. And Corey doesn't have, I don't think my grandson Corey has any tattoos, but Robbie does.
I am, and we'll end with this. I am sorry for your losses, but ultimately they're healing other people too.
I hope
You're-
so.
No, they are. You couldn't have given me 2 of those 4 that I received, and I'll put them in the comments what I have, the things that I have. But you couldn't give me 2 of those 4 without going through the hard experiences you've gone through. And I'm sorry you did, but you get to
It's
help.
made me the person that I am today.
It made you the person you are
A
today.
friend that just told me that not too long ago, and nobody's ever said that to me
Yep.
before.
You would not be who you are today. Had Jesse from the Savannah Bananas not hurt his arm, he would have never gotten into the Bananas. He would have still been playing baseball and trying to make it, and then probably just gone and got a job as a coach somewhere.
I have to talk to Corey tonight. I don't remember how he first got into the Bananas.
Yeah.
I have to find that out.
Yeah, absolutely. And if he's ever in town, I'd love to sit down with him. I have one episode of Tanner and Zach sat here and talked Savannah Banana and Banana Ball and life. And
That's so funny.
all those young men, the majority of those young men are just great young men. And so it's been really neat. He's in a fabulous organization with a guy who thinks he's a forward thinker. And I'm just really impressed with him as a businessman. I'm impressed with you. Thank you so much. I have a new friend and I have a hugger. Hey, listen, if you like what you hear on here, we're all the way from gangsters to hug therapists. Listen, like, subscribe, tell your friends about us. We'll see you on our next episode.
Can I just say one thing?
Yes,
This has been an epic experience for me.
that's what it's about. You are welcome back when you need to release more. I don't care if 3 people watch it. This is about me and you and
Okay.
about our journey.
Okay.
And then what you find is when you're hurting and you need to heal, come sit down with me. And what you'll find, call Dave, get with us.
I can't afford to come over here. I spend too much money.
Well, listen,
Spend too much
the
money.
amount of wisdom that you've given us on this episode, I'll come pick you up. How about that?
I love
Hey,
it.
we'll see you on the next episode of All About the Grind.
Heard
Thanks,
that.
folks.
Yeah, I learned to stay strong. Concrete in the dirt, I was
Tell me
raised
you
on.
did
Know
great.
how to put in work.
Tell me how freeing that
All day,
was.
you know it's game on.
It was, and I thought I said I shared more than
Running, yeah, we stay
now my
alive.
son would probably say, oh,
Nah, he